In example number 2, we're going to calculate the volume of a cylinder. So a cylinder in some ways is like a prism, except it has circle bases. Okay, so if I have a perfectly drawn circle here and a perfectly drawn circle here, and the circle has a center, the circle has a center. That's a cylinder. And then you can also have a perfectly drawn cylinder here and a perfectly drawn cylinder here. And it's very similar in the sense that to find the volume of this, you need the area of the base, which the area of a circle is just going to be pi times the radius squared times the height of the prism, or in this case cylinder. Now the height of this is just going to be h. On the slanted cylinder, it's just going to be the actual height of it. How high does it stick up off of the ground? It's what we would call the altitude height. And then the radius obviously is from the center of the circle to the edge of the circle, to the circumference. Alright, so let's do an example of this. So in the textbook we have a cylinder that looks like this, and we're told that the radius is 9 feet and that the overall height is 6 feet. Now obviously this is not drawn to scale, and we're asked to find the volume of this. So to find the volume of this, we're just going to say pi times the radius squared times h. Well, the radius goes from the center of the circle to the edge of the circle, and then this would be the height. So the volume of this is going to be pi times 9 squared times 6. Now remember, we have to follow order of operations. So we have to square the 9 first, so really that would be 81 times pi times 6. Okay? Where does the 81 come from? The 9 squared. And then 81 times 6 is going to be 486 times pi. Now this, I haven't talked a lot about this, but this is what we would call an exact solution or exact value, because pi is actually a number. It's a crazy number. It's an irrational number. It's a number that has a decimal that never repeats and never ends. Right? It's what we call a non-terminating, non-repeating decimal. But if I can also remember that pi is pretty darn close to 3.14. So a lot of times we're asked to round to 2 decimal places. So if I just say 486 times 3.14, I could get a pretty good approximation. But remember, we're going to change that to an approximate value because we're rounding. No more of the straight equal signs. So this would be what we call an approximate value. Now, believe it or not, in your upper level math classes like pre-calculus and calculus, they prefer to have it this answer because it's the exact value. But for now, we're gonna look at both. Okay. Not everybody's going to take calculus, so but some of you are. So then what is that? When I multiply that together, if I put that on the calculator, I get 1526 81. And that's feet cubed. Okay. Okay, let's do one with the slant height. So one more example. Perfectly drawn circle. The radius of this bad boy is going to be 4 centimeters. And then the altitude height is going to be 7 centimeters. Okay, so the formula still remains. The volume of this thing is going to be pi r squared times h. Pi remains the same, but we're going to have r, which is 4 squared times 7. So that means pi times 16 times 7. And I'm going to take the numbers and toss them in the front. 16 times 7 actually is 112. 112 times pi. This is what we call the exact value, because we're including the rational number or irrational number of pi. And then if I plug in 112 times 3.14, remember that's an approximate value because pi goes on forever. So we're changing our equal sign to an approximate sign. This is going to be an approximate value. And that approximate value is going to be 351.86 centimeters cubed.